Today I'm going to talk about the topic of discovering a country thanks to its open metadata. So let's go. First, I'm a guy from New-Caledonia. New-Caledonia is somewhere in South Pacific. And there are some key points to know about New-Caledonia, but the whole work I'm going to talk here about can be applied to any kind of country. So first, we are east of Australia, next to New Zealand. And one of the key points in New Caledonia is biodiversity and endemism, which I'll talk more about a bit later. And also a lot of cultural diversity. And of course, one of the main important points in economic development is the nickel mining and its originality about political status. So the first question I'll address here is to discover how we are connected to the world. We may be lost in South Pacific, but still we are connected to United Nations and major topics all countries should focus about. So one of the first things I'd like to talk about is about the GDB, which is a global data barometer. And it's a tool developed in South Pacific Commission, which aim is to compare various topics we could work here in New Caledonia about topics like climate action, capabilities, public procurement, finance, land, health, governance. And as you can see, it's a big work, and it was computed thanks to open data and open data sharing, and it could be compared with other countries. Then, as you can see, we are about to discover our journey, and it will be organized as follows. So first, how I did the storytelling inception. What are we talking about data and data portal? And then we'll focus a bit more about chatting with knowledge graph. Then, in a more practical way, how to disrupt the user experience. And then finally, some data arts and contemplation. So first, I wanted to create a disruptive experiment. And I was wondering how to create the storytelling this time and use AI for that. So here's my script. So as a data scientist and open data practitioner, I want to promote United Nations Sustainable Goals. So we call them SDGs. And my overall goal is to see how I can use my own country's open data in coordination with the United Nations goals to discover how good we are and what remains to be done to achieve a better world for all. So also noticing that I have some skills, and I wanted to know how I could use Neo4J to promote these goals and explain where we could be. Finally, here's my question to the AI to get 5 ideas I could use in my data storytelling and my next webinar, which is today, and engage my audience. To achieve these goals, in fact, I used some AI with Langchain and OpenAI, and the specific component called SmartLLMChain, which gives me the ability to create a crowd of ideative AI, which is here, so LLM ideation, which, as you can see, I use GPT-4, but especially temperature 0.9, which is very creative because I want a lot of ideas coming out of the hair. Then critic faces, which is much less creative, 0.4, and then finally get the answer. So here creativity, temperature 0.2. And here's the prompt I showed you before and the code. So everything is code related. So I ask my question, and I want the solution to be out. And here's what I got. So first, the first thing to achieve is to map the country's open data to United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. So mapping countries' open data to United Nations SDGs. First step to be map countries' open data to United Nations Sustainable Goals. So I get the explanation, but with this answer, I get all the other explanation, which gives me the certainty that it's the best way, the first thing to achieve. Then here we go with Neo4J, identifying relationships. So identifying relationships is the next step. Relationship between different indicators, which we will focus later. So it did understand, it did imaginate that Neo4j for visualizing relationships and understanding. And as you can see, indicators and impacts. Next, predictive analysis. So we can use data to predict some key facts, some KPI. Then very important too, the gap, where we are, where we should be, and identify where we are failing behind achieving SDGs, why, and then work on them. And then finally, storytelling. So use the insights we'll get out of data. So this would certainly make your presentation more engaging and encourage your audience to take action. So this is why storytelling is for. Then I wanted to build a title, and then by injecting the previous answers to this prompt, I could get a title and a subtitle. So here, for example, here's a title I could guess, Harnessing Power of Unified Data, and as a subtitle, Innovative Strategies for Integrating Open Data from Diverse Sources for Groundbreaking Solutions, which will we do later. So what are SDGs? SDGs are quite a simple topic, and it can be summarized within a single tweet. Yet, here they are. There are 17 sustainable goals. What are our data pillars in our project? So first, I rely on data.gouv.nc, which is an open data repository for New-Caledonia based on OpenDataSoft. Then United Nations SDGs. Then also Pacific Data Hub, which is here in New Caledonia, but which contains data and topics for all the South Pacific. So here we go for data.gouv.nc. So the portal exists since November 2022. And mainly I use the dictionary as part of the CSV, and the data are free to use. Note is required. And I only will use CSV. It has APIs, but I will only use CSV. Next, as other data pillars, UN United Nations SDGs. This time we have an API. So I've been grabbed the API to get their data, especially goals and KPIs. Then we also have Pacific Data Hub, which this time has an API. So I've been plugged to this API to get their data back. Also, because of I needed some data about open source license, I did use OKFN, which provide ready-to-use CSV. So what is the project workflow I created? So first, I did get the catalog metadata, use API, use ready-to-use datasets, and some third-party data I create myself. Then prepare the data, so made some cleanup, some integrity, then load the whole stuff into DuckDb instance, hosted on Kaggle. And then I was ready to deliver the data through various formats, including Gephi, Parquet, CSV, of course, ready to use GraphML, and of course, loading into Neo4j instance. And then at the end of the pipe, using the data with Q&A, DuckDb, Pandas, and also load into Neo4j Aura DB, or make some reporting with Bloom or Dataviz tools. So one of the key points I achieved was to be able to connect our open datasets to SDG topics ID. So this is what I created here by creating a simple CSV file. So on the left side, we have the dataset ID, and on the right one was the SDG IDs. So this file is very important as it makes it possible to melt topics together. And then we put all together, and after a quite long run, here 3 hours, I get all the datasets, download all the files, and do the job. Once it's done, files are ready to use, and once loaded in the Neo4j instance, I can get and browse the metadata. So here in the center, you can see United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, and then all of the entities, like, for example, Pacific Data Hub topics, which are related to United Nations ones. And then here, the data sets we have on Open data.gouv.nc, which is provided by our government. And we have keywords, themes, file size, number of rows, and a lot of metadata we can use. And also, of course, the people who publish the data, without who we could not have open data. So we are related to cities, organizations, and a lot of things. So this is a very complete data schema. And also, what came to my mind was to be able to connect goals, the one with the others, because some sustainable goals relies on other, which make appear like foundation goals, like, for example, partnerships or life on land is a foundational goal as it does not rely on other goals. So with all this data, we could achieve retrieval augmented generation and start to ask questions in natural language to our graph, which could be done through Langchain. For example, the question in input can be very simple, and the output answer use cipher to get back the answer. So here, a simple example, we could be implemented into a chatbot, list United Nations Sustainable Goals. And here you can see that we got United States Sustainable Goals, but with the API key, which proves that we have the right data. So this question is quite simple, but uses of our graph. And then we can ask for more complex questions, like getting the topics covered by Pacific Data Hub organization. So here is the cipher, and here are the answer. So very easy to use. Then I wanted to know which publishers did provide the most data. So I just have to ask a question, and in output, so we can see that the government of New-Caledonia is the biggest publisher, then South Province, and Numia City, and other organizations. Also, if we want to see which are the most covered sustainable development goals, just ask, and we get the answer, and with explanation, explain. So here, take urgent action to climate change and its impact. So it makes sense as we are on an island. Also, if I want to work on food security, which is a very important topic, based on United Nations goals, on which dataset should I focus if I want to work on food security in New Caledonia? Then I get the answer, and a very accurate answer, actually, should focus on datasets, and I get the list of datasets, the name and the year, and of course, the ID and the name of the file in which we can find the data. Though very powerful tool. And also higher level questions, like relationships between Pacific Data Hub and United Nations. So just ask how Pacific Data Hub topics and United Nations SDG are connected, and he builds the cipher query for me and performs the answer. So here we go, the answer. And the great fact is that we have the proof of the answer. So no hallucination here. Also, I was wondering which license was the most used. So here, the answer, so open license v2.0. And the proof of the answer, and 171 items. I asked for to get a markdown as output. So here is the answer, and I can share this knowledge very easily. So previously I was using a Langchain. I also used Llama Index to benchmark and see the differences, because we have connectors to for Neo4j for both technology. And I asked some more accurate question, some highly contextualized question. So regarding the fact I'm living in New Caledonia, on which goals should we focus, and explain? And the answer is very interesting, especially this part. It would be necessary to consider the specific challenge and priorities of the region, factors such as local economy, environment, and this leads to political questions and strategies. So very, very good question, very good answer, and still no hallucination. I wanted to perform also a benchmark, asking for the 10 biggest data sets we have, and we just have to ask, and we get the answer. So just ask the question in natural language, and we got at the top 10 data sets about food prices, which was part of the Dataviz challenge last month, in fact. So here we can see prix des produits alimentaires en 2015. These are very big files. And now, if I want to be more focused on which data sets are relying or are treating food safety and oceans, because we are an island. So here's the answers. Oops, sorry. So give me the goals related to food safety, including the ones relating to oceans. Explain and give the ROI. So goal 2 and goal 14. So these are United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, and we have the ROI of the United Nations API. So next we are going to focus on user experience to interactively use the data. So one of the way to achieve this, okay, is to broad them directly. So here we are on Aura DB, and I'm starting to focus on United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, and then discover which KPI we have. So the KPI are coming from United Nations API, except they have been loaded into Neo4j. So for now, as you can see, there is no connection between each others. But when I start to dig deeper, I can see how United Nations Sustainable Development Goals are linked together and put their hierarchy in evidence. So here we go. So a Sustainable Development Goals is a sub-goal of another. And here we can see the business centrality raised for the goals of United Nations. Then I go further. And what we are going to do here is to add the connection with, it's coming, South Pacific community. So here we go. We're feeding the graph with the open datasets, and we see the graph grow. And here now, Pacific Data Topic, which is targets South Pacific, and we'll be able to see it raise and see its centrality on the graph itself. Here we go. And what is amazing here, and I will stop here, is that we can see them raise in the center of the graph, which is in fact very true and very elegant in my sense. If I go on to add data, I can see the graph growing, but still Pacific data topics will remain in the center of the graph, which is pretty cool. Also, we can use it as a tool to focus on certain topics. And here my topics will be gender equity, which is United Nations Sustainable number 5. Ok, donc cette fois-ci, on va faire une... So here we go. I'm launching GraphXR. And then I'm looking for a first keyword, which is girl, for example, or woman. And research after research, I will see grow my graph and interact and discover the topics, the data sets, the goals is achieved, the KPI. Here we are with the goals, achieving gender equity. And all these data are focused on gender equity. And I can browse and dig, search for shops talking about women, or women, girls. We can see data sets about education, for example, and all the things targeting women and gender equity in New-Caledonia, and how they are linked to higher goals or KPI. So it's very easy to use, and we can do this with anything we want, like food, environment, ocean, and nature, and many other things. Very easy to use. I also could make some experiments on Gephisto. So we can see sectors on Open Data rise and explain how those data are connected together and linked also. I want to thank the biggest publishers. So it comes out of data. So South Province, government, and these are really the 5 or 6 biggest ones. Stack, here we go for the stack. So Kineviz, I used to visualize and interact with Open Data. Open Data Studio, which was holding our Open Data in New-Caledonia, and then Langchain and Llama Index to interact and build the RAG on knowledge graph, and then Gephi also. And Runway you will see later, then DuckDb, OpenAI, and Kaggle to build the data. Of course, Neo4J, and GitHub to hold some linked data. So it's almost finished already. And still, we can make some art. So here you can see we have a Runway here, Runway and Gephi. And let's relax a few moments to end up this session. So it's the data comes of this experiment built with Gephi, and then let's go. So I'll comment the end of this. So initially we had a first Gephi visualization, as you can see here. Each one is a data set, a topic, or a KPI about New-Caledonia and United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. And at the end, they all come melted into our blue single spheric planet. So this is the end of this storytelling. So here you go for the end of the of this demo. Hopefully you liked it